Hi, I'm Morgan Jerimus with RT Book Reviews, and today I'm joined by Deborah Coonts. You are the author of the mystery series, the Lucky O'Toole mystery series. Now, Lucky is ... I don't even know how to explain Lucky. She is so wacky and different and like nobody, I guarantee, like nobody you've ever read before. Very, very different character. And I think a lot of it stems from her family. So if we could go back a little bit, she is the illegitimate daughter of a brothel owner and a businessman, hotel person, and the big boss. And take it away from there. Explain Lucky to our viewers.
Well, Lucky is in her mid-30s. She's a Vegas creation. Absolutely. She personifies the city. She works at a fictional big hotel on the Strip called the Babylon, and she is their chief problem solver. She's technically in charge of customer relations, which the Las Vegas hotels don't have customer relations department. They have guest relations, which is a totally different thing. But Lucky takes care of all the problems, and I just created this job for her so that she could wander in and out of the back alleys of the hotel and deal with entertainers, with guests, with hotel people, whatever, and just have a great time. And she, because of her upbringing, she is sort of a rescuer. She solves everybody else's problems, but she avoids her own. And she isn't very trusting in her personal relationships, which causes some dilemmas for her on the romantic front. And so she really is sort of kick-ass in her job, but her personal life is a mess.
She's definitely one of those mother hens. She gathers up the people around her and does her best to, like you said, solve their problems. And unfortunately for her, a lot of these problems have to do with murder and mayhem and all sorts of interesting things happening, which really puts her right front and center with some really great mystery.
Well, you know, it's funny. I didn't think that I was writing really a mystery series. I'm really much more interested in the relationships and the people and why they do what they do. But the mystery started out as just sort of the structure of the story and gives Lucky an excuse to go out into Vegas. And I wanted to show my city because I love Vegas. And I'm a transplant to Vegas from Texas. And I've been there 10 years, which is actually long enough to become a native, technically, and because it's such a transient community. But I find the magic of Vegas just so compelling, and that's really what I wanted to show. I wanted to make people laugh. I wanted to show them that the city really is a lot of fun. It's not about mobsters. It's not about being naughty, and it's just fun. And so that's what Lucky does. And the murder mystery just allows her to go out into where the locals hang out in Las Vegas, away from the Strip. And I get to show some of the venues that we partake of out in across the Mojave Desert and away from the Strip. Because a lot of people in Vegas don't go to the Strip. There's just no excuse unless we have guests in town and they want to go there. Or there's a show. Or a great restaurant, but Las Vegas is sort of like living in Southern California without the ocean and without the taxes. So, but that and the mystery really still is light. These are not mysteries for hard-boiled mystery readers. These are meant to make you laugh, and they're not that nuanced. Although in the second book, in Lucky Stiff, I'm actually proud of the mystery. It has a really good twist at the end that I enjoyed and gives Lucky a whole facet, or shows the readers a facet to her character that is not normally on display. So
I definitely think so, and I just got done reading Lucky Stiff, and that's coming out in paperback. And it was really interesting for me. First of all, I would say you definitely can start with book 2 if you want to. Like, of course, go back, grab book 1 just to get to know Lucky a little bit more. But you can definitely start with book 2. And the mystery aspect of it happens right away. And Numbers Niedermeyer, who is the not so nice character, gets fed to the sharks at Mandalay Bay.
She does. And I really wanted, I don't know that much about the gambling world, which seems so funny because I live in Las Vegas, but I don't even think I've put a quarter in a slot machine. But I'm fascinated with the people that do and the people that make it happen. And one of the things that I don't understand that much is odds making and betting on sports books and and all of that. And so I got into that and learned a little bit about it. And all of the odds makers, I mean, I would say I don't even think I met a female odds maker in Las Vegas. Of course, how many females really want to follow football to that degree, or baseball? And so I thought, well, it would be really funny if I had an odds maker that was a petite, strawberry blonde female. And so I did, but she didn't, she really was awful when I created her. I didn't like her, and so I really wanted to get rid of her quickly, so I did.
Yeah, no, you definitely literally fed her to the sharks.
I did, and I went on a research trip to Shark Reef at Mandalay Bay, and my son, bless his heart, he should know better. He went with me. And, you know, we're walking through this with all these families and young children and whatnot, and we get to this, the first exhibit we see is this tank full of piranha, and it has like a half glass thing, and I was like, oh, look, this is great. You know, if we can't kill her with the sharks, we can just bring her and toss her in here, and the piranha will take care of her.
And he's just shaking his
And
head.
my son is just rolling his eyes going, oh, Mom, you know, as only teenagers can do. And all these families just sort of filter away. And so we
Stay away from the crazy lady.
And so we get into the shark tank, and it's like this cave. It's the coolest thing. I mean, you have to go if you haven't been there. It's a really cool exhibit. And you're like literally standing in the middle of the water looking at all these sharks swimming around you. I'm going, oh, tiger shark, cool. They'll eat people. And so I walked over to this poor guy in, you know, shorts and a pith helmet. And for sure, you had to work there. And I walked up to him and I said, you know, I have a question. He says, yes, ma'am, of course. I said, you know, if you threw a dead body in here, would the sharks eat it? You know, and you could see the kid going, call security, 911, call security. And I was like, I'm a novelist. It's okay. It's okay. And he really got into it, and he told me exactly how he would do it if that, there's a cue that the sharks have when it's feeding time. And so he told me what the cue was, and so he said, if you do that, he said the sharks will hit anything that you toss in the water at that point. And I was like, cool. So, you know, I was like, yes.
And it just goes to show, I think one of the great things about Vegas is there's a little bit of everything there. You already talked about the desert. You talked about like exhibits at the hotels. You've got the strip. You've also got kind of the more average normal life off of the strip with, you know, grocery stores and elementary schools. And I think that it really lends itself to, I mean, Lucky can get in so many adventures. There's no end of things. You've got roller coasters. You've got miniature Paris in one of the hotels. I mean, you can really go anywhere and do anything in Vegas. And I think that the Shark Tank is just one of the many things that you can find, that you can go after. And I know a little birdie told me that we might possibly, speaking of Vegas, it's really gotten to be known as a chef's mecca and a restaurant mecca. And
it has.
We might be getting to meet a chef in one of the upcoming books.
We just might. There's this French chef that shows up, and you know, I don't know what it is about the men in my book, but Lucky's boyfriend at the end of the first book is Teddy, and he is a very hunky, straight female impersonator with a Harvard MBA and a Juilliard master's. And so
I just, when I read about that, I just kept thinking Lucky is such a open-minded person. I'm not sure if everybody would be able to be really confident having a cross-dressing boyfriend. Like that's something you really kind of have to. You just embrace it. She just embraced it.
He doesn't like go to breakfast dressed in Oscar de la Renta. You know, that's really his job. It's like he's going to a play, and that's his costume. And when people say he cross-dresses, I say, no, I've seen the cross-dressers in New York. No, he doesn't do that. You know, wander Washington Square Park in New York, you know, dressed in a pink frock. But
not for fun, for work.
Yeah, no. And it was funny. Somebody asked me once. They said, "What is Lucky's defining characteristic?" You know, I get these questions. It's just like, "Oh my God, what?" You know. And I said, "She's non-judgmental," and that's probably a personification of that, or an example of that. That she can look past what Teddy does to who he is, and it doesn't bother her what he does. And in fact, she really likes his wardrobe, but she hates it when he wears her shoes. And you know, so it's fun. But anyway. Teddy is Lucky's boyfriend at the end of the first book, but if I'm going to have a series, I've got to have a little bit of romantic tension, and they can't just get together and live happily ever after. And so we have a little bit of a rocky place, and a French chef shows up. But as I thought Teddy would be in the first book, I thought he would be the comic relief, because I thought it was very funny to have a straight female impersonator. It just is rife with humor. And I mean, he'd have a horrible time picking up girls, and so, as we just talked about, and so, well, he didn't turn out to be the comic relief. He turned out to be the male lead, which, of course, I sent the book off to an agent friend of mine when I finished it. I said, please, just tell me I'm nuts. You know, have I gone nuts? You know, but my male, you know, protagonist wears a dress. And But anyway, she loved it. She sold the book in 12 hours, but that's another story. But and then I brought the French chef on. I thought, well, I'll do, Gordon Ramsay or whatever his name is, kind of character, and just, I mean, he's totally for entertainment and over the top, and he'd be the comic relief. Well, he held book 3 hostage until he told me who he was, and well, he's not that funny either. And so I don't know who the comic relief is, but Lucky maybe. But
I was going to say, I think Lucky is just one of those characters where she can be doing something as innocuous as buying a gallon of milk, and you're just going to have, like, you're going to be on the floor laughing because something's going to happen, and it's just going to be just hilarious because that's her life. I mean, and nothing trips her up. There can be a truck full of bees that spills out over in front of her hotel to a naked district attorney running around the hotel trying to get back in to visit his mistress. There can be, no matter what's going on, she's on top of it and she's okay and she's in charge.
She's just like, okay, how are we going to solve this problem? And she tends to find the humor in things, which is what makes the books funny to the extent they're funny. It's really her take on all this chaos that is happening around her, and she thinks it's funny, or she finds the poignancy, or whatever. But she usually tries to solve the problem, and that's just the shtick that I use to tell the story, and that's what I like about the stories.
Well, I know that's what your readers absolutely love about the stories. At least I did.
Oh, well, thanks.
Yes, and so your first 2 books are out now in Lucky Stiffen paperback, and we can
That's
definitely
right.
get ready for number 3. And I've also heard about number 4 and number 5, so we've got many more coming from Lucky O'Toole. I'm very, very excited to get to read more about her.
Oh, thank you.